So say if you want to read that actual gospel reading, it's very, very familiar. It always is the Sunday after Easter. And it's often referred to as doubting Thomas, which is a somewhat ungenerous attitude that is attached to Thomas. Because as we've heard, he wasn't there when Jesus made his appearance to the disciples. And what they told him, they just weren't prepared. He wasn't prepared to accept. He wanted to see the evidence. He needed to have it tested. And so said, unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I won't believe. But when Jesus does appear to Thomas and he's able to do that, then he makes a very profound profession of faith. He says, "My Lord and my God." And then Jesus said to him, "Because you've seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who've not seen and yet have believed." So as people who celebrated the resurrection of Jesus last Sunday with great joy and celebration, is it that we really believe and live out that faith? Are we living our lives as Easter people? There's all sorts written about proof of the resurrection. And also, if you're old enough to remember David Jenkins making his pronunciation, David Jenkins was a Bishop of Durham, and they reckon caused the fire at York Minster because he said that he wasn't quite sure about the virgin birth, and he certainly wasn't very sure about a real resurrection. But despite all of that, for many, it's not that inspires faith, wanting the proof. For people, they don't necessarily want that proof. It's not what we say about the resurrection, but it's how we look and live our lives as a result of it. It's that the fact of the resurrection should be inspiring, animated faith. And what we forget often is that the only gospel that some people will ever hear or see is the gospel according to you and me. It's what we're saying, it's how we are living our lives. So do we each look and sound and live as people who know the resurrection to be true and live out that faith? And are we as a church one that lives out its faith with generosity and inclusion? The reading from Acts was about the church that was developing in the time of Jesus. And helping those in needs was a fundamental part of Judaism. There wasn't a pension or a benefit scheme. People could give, although sometimes that focused more on the giver than rather the money they were receiving. But in that reading from Acts, we see what marks out that early Christian community was generous lifestyle. They encouraged one another, they shared with one another, they prayed together, learnt together, and supported those in need. Of course, they weren't perfect, but they realized that they were meant to be a community that was open to others. When we were on sabbatical and were spending time in Chipping Norton, we went a few times to the living room cinema. There are 2 screens, 32 seats in each one, very, very comfortable. You can take in your glass of wine, your nachos, and enjoy the film. Very comfortable indeed. But there was one film that I had seen was coming out during that time, so booked for Paul and I to go and see it. And it's called The Old Oak. It's a Ken Loach film that's set in the Northeast. It was filmed in some of the parts that Billy Elliot was filmed, so Easington, all the terrace housing and the mining areas there. And I'm going to show you, it's a trailer, so it will have various sort of things across it. but it's just a snippet of the film. I hope you could understand it. So it's very good Geordie accents there. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix, if you have Netflix. But I'd love to show it to the whole church. I think it's such a powerful film. I'd say that area, now it's not very far away from where my mum lived, so we know it quite well. So run down. And obviously the people who live in that area sort of becoming more and more entrenched and in themselves because of, seeing that there wasn't a lot for them. And what happened was this, within the film, a bus load of Syrian refugees arrive. And immediately the locals are so against them. And this chap, TJ, has the pub, a bit of a Job-like figure, and a lot has gone wrong in his life. And the regulars in the pub become more and more annoyed as he builds up a relationship with not just Yara, but the rest of the refugee people there. And you saw him, so the camera was Yara's. I think it had sort of been taken, somebody had stolen it from her, got it back, and she was continually recording, what was happening. And the room that he took her into was the back room of the pub that he hadn't opened up for a huge amount of time. The locals wanted him to, they wanted to be having things there. He refused them. But in the end, it was opened up as a place where almost like a food bank, community supper could be held. And the reason that TJ took Yara to Durham Cathedral was because people there had collected. So people all over the area were collecting food for these people. Yarra obviously not being there, it certainly moved me to tears at that point because it just means so much for me. But the relationship that built up between TJ and Yarra and then the rest of the village, and you saw the miners sort of parade every year in Durham. There's a huge gathering of all the mining villages, and you know where the pub was one of those, brought people together for that. And it's those words that people who eat together stick together that really, really stuck with me as well. I've no doubt it wasn't the intention of Ken Roach, but for me, that film is Easter faith being lived out and bringing hope to people who didn't have any, both in the village and the refugees together. And we need to be Easter people in our community. We need to be living out the faith which we have, which may very often have doubts, but which also has the strength of Thomas to be able to say, "My Lord and my God." And what I want us to be thinking a bit now is, how do we go about that? We need to know one another better, to love and care for each other. We need to be more than just, I saw the phrase, a weekly spiritual filling station, but to be a genuine home where strangers are welcomed. And given that the context is St Mary's Wendover in 2024, it's not the church in Acts. It's how do we together foster generosity with our attitudes and behaviour within and beyond our fellowship. Now, you were given a postcard when you came in. And Ben, would you mind bringing some of the postcards down for the music group, if they haven't? Oh, thank you, Kyla. At the moment, we are thinking about vision. The PCC spent some time thinking about what our vision is for the next 5 years or so. The things that we would like to see happen under the umbrella of St Mary's Church in this building and beyond. So what I'd like you to do we're going to do this for about 5-7 minutes, is to talk with others and think, what's missing from our life as a church? What would we like to be doing more of? As I say, chat together. Just think, if you don't want to chat together, you just want to write something down. This is your chance to really input into what our vision should be. It's no good just the few of us at a PCC doing that. We need to find different ways to gather the voice of the people who are our church and beyond. We need to go out and do that. So, would you like to just spend a little bit of time thinking, talking together? We can find some pens if you'd like to write things down. If you'd rather take the postcard away and think at home, then it can come back to me through the shop or to find me. So that's what we're going to do till, between 20 past and 25 past. So, okay. It's always lovely to see conversations going on and different people chatting to each other. So if I can draw you to a close, if you've written things down, just hang on to them and you can give them to me at the end of the service. If you haven't but would like to take a card away, then please do that as well. Really appreciate the time and thinking for that. Some notices. It is our annual parochial church meeting on the 28th of April. And at the moment, the electoral roll is being revised. If you're on it, you don't need to do anything. If you're not and would like to be on it, Jackie's here and can give you a form to be filled in. So if you've been worshipping at St Mary's for more than 6 months, are over 16, I think I'm baptised, then you are able to do that. We have had 2 years of just Pete as church warden. He would very much like somebody else to be church warden alongside him. Matt Ryan has decided that the time has come for him to stop being treasurer, so that's going to be a big gap to fill. And we will be looking for 3 PCC members. So please be praying about that. That's the biggest thing to be doing. To think if there is anybody that you can suggest to me that can fill any of those roles, or if you yourself could, then please be doing that. What's the other bit? So my mind's gone a bit blank. We've got 3 funerals in the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow is Ron Smith, who was an 8 o'clock. Ron was very faithful as an 8 o'clocker, did a huge amount in the churchyard. His funeral's tomorrow. On Thursday, Beryl Pern. Beryl's being buried alongside her husband at Great Missenden, and then we've got a service of thanksgiving for her at 3:30. So if you knew Beryl and the work that she did at St Mary's, do come along. And then the following week, Derek Roxbury has died. Again, Derek was very much an 8 o'clocker, but also part of the churchyard care committee, was a trustee of Abbey Fields, so part of Wendover's thing. His funeral's the 11th of April. No, the 17th at 11 o'clock. Sorry, it's too many numbers in my mind. Yeah, I think that's the main notices for today. I'd put on this. You see, if you've got an order of service that says going out, I change this to Easter people, and really want to encourage you to go out and think about how we can be people who've got Jesus at the centre of our lives and live as Easter people. I could see that the film, that trailer, had quite an effect on people. And it's just the power of how people coming together and sharing together and encouraging people can give so much hope to people who are really struggling. And I think one of the areas that is becoming more and more obvious, and to some of you will have been so obvious, is loneliness, and how we can help people who are struggling on their own to come together and to be able to share together and not feel struggling as much as they might be. So that's what I hope that we can be doing. And when we're doing Vision, we're thinking sort of under the umbrella of the Diocese of Oxford's main vision, which is thinking about being signs of a Christ-like church, so that being courageous, compassionate, and
contemplative.
Sorry?
Contemplative.
Contemplative, that's right. Thank you. I always forget that one. So that's sort of the umbrella that we're looking at.
Jesus, light of the world.